Please be seated. Epiphany is coming, and Epiphany is here. And we're kind of balancing that tension right now, because really we are in the second Sunday of Christmas. Christmas is 12 days. Sometimes we get 2 Sundays in those 12 days. Sometimes we just get 1. So here we are in the second one, but also the 10th day of Christmas. Did I get that right? 10th day, 11th day. 11th day of Christmas. Is that Lord's the leap year? Or no? Nah, never mind. So the day of Epiphany, the Feast of Epiphany, is this Tuesday. Tomorrow's the 12th day of Christmas, and then the day after that is the Feast of the Epiphany. We're not doing anything here on Tuesday. We'll be back again on Wednesday for midweek Eucharist, starting that back up again. So we'll be pretty close. We're kind of bookending it here. But we have represented right here at the front the sort of dynamic tension of being both at Epiphany and not quite at Epiphany. We can see the Magi, the wise men, have gotten closer with their camels. They would probably have been here already, except the camels are just sitting down, and they don't even look like they're that big of a hurry. But they've gotten closer. So this is a visual representation of where we're at here in the season. And I love Epiphany. I love the story of the Magi, and I love it so much I wanted more. And a lot of you may know what fan fiction is, fan fiction. I'm kind of a fan fiction writer for Bible stuff. That's just how big of a nerd I am. There's a writing project that I've had on the back burner for like 20 years. And some of you, I've talked to about this. A lot of you haven't. I haven't. But I was thinking about the Magi, the 3 wise men, and how traditionally their names are Gaspar and Balthazar and Melchior. We have no idea who made that up. It's not in the Bible. But I was looking at those names, and I was also studying Hebrew at the time, and I looked at the name Melchior. Like, that's a Hebrew word. It's not a name you specifically find anywhere in the Bible, but Melchi, or Melchi means king, and Or means light. So like, this is a Hebrew name that means king of light, or my king is my light. Like, is one of the Magi Jewish? Like that idea interested me so much that I'm like, well, I started spinning out into all these backstories and all of this big, epic historical drama and stuff. I had fun with it. About 200 pages worth of fun. We'll talk later about that. But it interested me to imagine that out of these 3 wise men, Melchior may have had a very different journey. May have had a very different path to arrive at this place than the other 2. And so I imagine that he grew up in Jerusalem in the 60s or 70s BC, and when the Roman armies were first invading Jerusalem and first occupying Jerusalem. And it was this whole, of course, anytime a city is invaded and occupied, this very violent time in their history. And I imagine that he was one of the little kids running for his life as the city was burning all around him and as soldiers were coming in to take over. And that he and his father survived this along with a few other friends and found themselves in a spiritual enclave called Qumran, where the Essenes lived, and that the Essenes took them in and took other refugees of war in. And so this was maybe the place where he grew up and had his formation in his Jewish faith, but that he didn't care for it. This is very strict. Monks. It's basically what we'd think of as a monastery. I imagine this 12-year-old or whatever didn't care for it much. It didn't really suit him. They were all very strict. They were all very cloistered, literally. And they mistreated his father. They didn't respect his father. And he was extremely smart. He got all of it. He understood what was going on, but he hated it there. And ultimately, he ran away. And he and this other little girl who was there that's kind of developed a friendship, they ran away together. They ultimately get married. They find themselves running to the north and to the east and have all of these adventures that we don't have time to talk about. but find themselves in a great battle, great historical battle of Carrhae, which you can look up if you want. And he becomes a Parthian soldier, riding horseback and shooting arrows and all of this stuff. But long story short, years later, he has a family, and one of the captains of this army from years ago finds his family again and exacts vengeance on him and kills his wife and kills his son and takes his daughter captive, and he just barely escapes, and he runs further east. And of course, he's very traumatized. He wants to leave everything west behind him. He wants to cut off the past and do something completely different. He wants to be someone completely different. So eventually he finds himself in this place in Persia called Esfahan, where you have Zoroastrian monks and Zoroastrian priests. He's like, I'll be that. I can do that. And not even talking about his past, not even talking about who he was, or that he was Jewish, or that he was raised in Judah or Israel, or any of this, but just, hey, this is who I am now, and that's all that matters. But eventually, he develops in that place. He's so intelligent. He becomes one of the leaders of this community, and then the leader of this community. But there's others. There's another leader who's an expert in astrology and astronomy, and there's another leader who's an expert in ancient religious texts. And they are putting their heads together, and they say, something's happening in the West. Something that's never happened before. And these prophecies, they are all they're foretelling a time when a king will be born, unlike any other king. And the astrologer says, and there's a star we just spotted that what is going on with this star? This shouldn't be happening. And everything is pointing us to the west. So they decide, okay, we're going to go and figure it out. And Melchior, it says, no, you're not going. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to get killed. You have no idea what you're getting into. You don't understand the territory, all of the bandits and roving armies and poisonous snakes and all of these things. You're not going. So they bide their time and they try to sneak out. But Melchior meets them at the edge of the encampment and says, all right, I know you're going to go anyway, but I'm going to go with you because I'm going to keep you alive. I know the territory and you don't. So what we have is three wise, learned people, all looking for the King of Kings, but for very different reasons. Two of them have some sense that there is something divine, something epic and historic happening, and they want to be part of it. And the other one doesn't want anything to do with that entire territory. He says, I left that part of my life behind me. I'm not going back. I'm literally there dragging me here, and I'm just here to keep them alive. Kind of sounds like all of the different motivations we may have in our own spiritual journeys. Some of us are here earnestly seeking something epic, something that's never happened before. Something we know that we couldn't accomplish in our own lives. And some of us are kind of here kicking and screaming. Maybe it's a spouse dragging us along, or a child or a parent dragging us along, or maybe we just have some vague sense that we need to be part of something, but in our heart we're still reluctant. We don't really want we don't want to be confronted with this new thing or what it might mean for me. And I think we see that visually represented up here too. I mean, what is this shepherd doing here? Or that shepherd? Why is Joseph here? Why is Mary here? And each of the Magi, everybody is bringing something different with them to this moment and not sure exactly what's going to happen. Now, maybe they all have kind of a similar experience. Once they get there, they see, okay, well, whatever it was I was expecting, what I see now is that God has become flesh and chosen to dwell among us, chosen to move into the neighborhood, chosen to be one of us, to see the human condition through our own eyes. And so they have this probably transcendent moment of, or maybe the only word that describes it is wow. But once that word has fully decayed and there's silence again, I think the next couple of words is probably, now what? They're going home again. These guys have sheep to look after. These people are rulers of a vast territory. They've got subjects and people to rule and governments to run and who knows what. Now what? And I can relate to that too. We have our holidays. We have these feast days and these big moments where we have songs that we love and we have gatherings and food and all these things. And we have this mountaintop experience to say, God is amazing. God loves us. It's going to be okay. There is hope. Then we go back to our cars and we drive home and say, now what? And very briefly, I just want to highlight that moment for us as a church, for us as a family, and for us as a community. To think, we took the sermon last Sunday to think back on the history, on what got us here, right? We can look a little bit more at the calendar year 2025 and all of the things that have happened that brought us here. All of the new friends that we've met, the people that have become part of this community, and some of the people that have left, and how it's changed us and who we are. We can think about how we started a midweek Eucharist service, about how we started Decon Recon and had some amazing conversations, and how that's evolved into St. Mike's Hard Questions that we're starting up again in a few weeks. We can think about the electrical upgrades that we got that we don't really think about, but we're thankful for because it helps us to meet here in a safe building. And about the paint job, right? And that when we pull up to this church, how much better it looks, and that this is representing us maybe better than before. And fixing the roof. And I'm sorry Susan's not here, because I always like to applaud Susan. But that we had the leaks in the roof that were compromising the kitchen. And all of the new ministries, all of the new friendships, all the new activities, the Third Thursday activities of gathering once a month just to do something fun and to get to know each other better. 2025 was a good year. And we can look back at that, and now here we are at the beginning of 2026, and we have to ask ourselves, now what? What was this for? So many of the questions that ran the show leading up to this point was, how do we survive? And I don't think it's presumptuous of me to stand here now and say, we have survived. We're living, we're breathing, we're here, we're not going anywhere. So maybe the questions shift from how do we survive to how do we flourish? How do we really make the most of this? How do we ask ourselves the hard questions and say, what am I actually doing here? And we had good conversation about this at the 9 o'clock class too, of this, what is it that actually motivates me to spend this time in this space? Is it that this is where Christianity happens? I'm a Christian, so 1 hour a week I need to do the Christianity thing so that I can go back to everything else? Or is this the weight room? Is this the training ground? Is this where we coach one another? Is this where we spot one another? Is this where we make each other feel safe to make mistakes and try again? So that's just the question I want to leave you with this sermon here, is that what is this space? What is this logo? What is this liturgy doing for you? Does it justify your Christian identity because you do this? Or is this the springboard to your faith? And do you make space for the people in here to make mistakes and try again? Is everyone tiptoeing around you because if they say the wrong thing, it's like, oh, now we got another enemy in the pew, right? Or now, well, I guess we aren't talking to each other, or she and I don't really get along, or whatever. Or are we making the space to try again and again and again so that when we're out there, we're stronger? Our love is stronger. And so that maybe, hopefully, when our coworkers look at us, or our friends or our neighbors, and I'm pointing at Trish here because she hasn't spoken out of turn yet, so I'm going to give her the chance.
My neighbor's evil. I pray for her to find a new place that's better for her.
That's good. Well, and that kind of contradicts what I was about to say, so that's a shame. No, it doesn't. This is the blessing I'm going to leave you with because it's what Trish mentioned in the class earlier. It was a roast she received of somebody looking at Trish's spiritual community about St. Michael's and saying, you people act like everybody's your neighbor. Did I get that right?
Yep.
That was supposed to be an insult. She didn't take it that way. I hope we don't take it that way. I hope that what we do here makes us that much stronger, that much more determined to walk out the door, to get in our car, to go out into the world, and to make everybody our neighbor. Amen.
Amen.